Hey everybody, Doug here with Hope360, and I have Richie here with me. Richie, welcome.
Glad to be here, brother.
Yeah, I'm
Glad to
so
be here.
excited. Thank you. I'm so excited you're here. At Hope360, we share stories of hope. We share testimonials of what God has done in our lives, and Richie's going to share his. Richie, why don't you just start out by just share your story, share your testimonial, how God worked in your life, and what happened in your life.
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised just south of Richmond, Virginia, and my story's not everybody's story, but a lot of people's story. Where you raised up in the kind of in the Bible Belt kind of scene, and so you grow up and you're familiar with God, Jesus, Elvis, Mama Apple Pie, all that stuff kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so little family of origin history, because that really plays a role in who we become, right? And
Yeah.
so on my mama's side, my grandparents basically they made a lot of bootleg whiskey and
Oh,
they
wow.
they my mama was adopted into the black market when she was 9 months old, and so that means she was, that was no legal process with papers and all that stuff. And so but I'm, like I said, that was kind of the wild side of my mom and dad. My mom on my
When you
dad.
say she was adopted into the black market, you mean like she was adopted into her family?
Yeah, so she was, I guess um, I guess the biological grandmother, it gets complex, man. The
Yeah.
biological grandmother, she got pregnant and in Roxborough, North Carolina, and then runs to Petersburg, births the child, and the first couple went to family, and after that the family couldn't take anymore, so I don't know if she gave them away, maybe sold them, I'm not sure what.
Oh, wow.
That's kind
Okay.
of, that's
Okay.
kind of buzzy, but usually in the black market it's like, yeah, I'll give you so much for a baby, that kind of thing. And so the
Okay.
baby ended up in so there was no legal trade, no it was kind of a little, I don't know however they worked it out. It was it was illegal. So
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I got accept went along with the bootleg whiskey and everything else for that matter.
Yeah.
And so, um, so like I said, that was my. In fact, this is a little side note. Probably a ton of side notes here. So I
Yeah.
guess the first time my dad ever encountered my mom's family, and this is before they were dating and all, he was making an oil delivery. He worked for the local energy company, and he was kind of interning, kind of, if you will. And they went and delivered oil to this place in Petersburg. And when they went around to collect for the bill, there was a guy tumbling down the steps of this two-story house.
Uh-oh.
And there was a big lady at the top of it saying, "Don't you ever come back here with that kind of like blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "Holy smokes." And my dad's like, "Who's that?" Well, he said who it was. And it's like, wow, this woman's known. So, and what she was doing was they were running a bootleg joint up in this second story of this dwelling place. So, long story, when mom and dad ended up meeting, my dad's like, "So who are your parents?" And
Wow.
he
Wow.
mentioned, the name, and my dad's like, "Oh snap, that's your mama." It was the woman that was at the top of the steps.
What a
So,
first impression.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, so that's like I said, that's my mama's side. On daddy's side, my grandfather was a painting contractor, and in those
Mm.
circles, and they say you ain't a good painter unless you're a good drunk. So there's a lot going
Okay.
on all the
Yeah. Yeah.
my dad's side didn't have anywhere near the crazy that mama's side did. So when they got together, it's like, man, let's do things a little bit different. Let's figure this out. And so I think they got involved in the church, not really. It was just kind of like, let's go get some Jesus and see if that'll change the household or whatever. And so, because my mama was a kind of a country girl, I was raised like, Huckleberry Finn, man, Tom Sawyer.
Okay.
I didn't wear a shoe, didn't wear a shirt and all that. And so now they're taking us to church. And man, we had clip-on ties, right? And you might as well have had a noose around my neck, hanging me from a tree, swinging. I was like, and it's
I've done that. I've been there. Yeah.
oh, it was horrible. So we just on Sunday mornings, it was like, oh, I gotta go to church. So we drag our feet and just cause all kinds of problems. And mom and dad's like, oh, let's we ain't gonna do this anymore. And so my story's not everybody's story, but a lot of people, we stopped going, and that lack of influence of what could have been the word and all that good stuff. And now it's my first it's my sophomore year. Up until that point, I'd really not done anything crazy, partying, any of that kind of thing, because I thought, just like, why would anybody do that? And I saw kind of the bad effects of it to some degree, especially on my mama's side.
Yeah.
So
I bet you did.
yeah,
Sounds like.
oh yeah, yeah. It's like, and I saw it at an early age too. So I kind of just thought, well, I'm crazy enough as it is. I can't imagine doing that. So, but my brother started, and then in my sophomore year in high school, first high school dance, I didn't like the smell or flavor of beer or anything, and so my brother drank dark liquor, so I don't want any parts of that. And so he's like, "You like orange juice, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So he's like, "All right, well, we'll fix you up." So next thing you went out and bought some vodka and all, and he's making me screwdrivers. And my high school dance in my sophomore year, man, I'm just like getting lit, thinking, "All right, this is pretty wild, man."
Wow.
And so fast forward a couple of years later, I played baseball through high school, and a couple of guys after practice introduced me to pot. And they're kind of like, "Hey, Richie, do you get high?" I'm like, "Not yet, man." But nothing can be worse than that straight liquor, man. So I got so I started smoking pot, and then that led to I liked it a lot, man. And so next thing you know, I'm out in the parking lot and getting stoned. My grades are going crash, and then my grades were bad enough to where I couldn't play baseball because academically is disqualified. And so that's primarily why I went to school, that females. So, and you could see them on the weekends, man. Don't have to go to school for that. So I actually quit. And in April of my senior year, and my mama cried her eyeballs out, man. She's like,
she's probably like, "You're almost done. Finish it."
well, she did do what a lot of parents do. What did we do wrong? What did we do wrong?
Yeah.
I'm like, Ollie's like getting stoned, Mom. It's like, and Dad was kind of he's a great man. He's a pipe fitter, but he's like, go to school or get a trade, that kind of thing. And boys will be boys. You got to sow your wild oats and all. So he was kind of let Mama handle a lot of that stuff. And so, like I said, she's like, "What did we do?" I'm like, "You didn't do anything wrong." It's like, I told her, she cried enough. I'm like, "All right, I'll go back." I'm thinking, well, I got to go back anyway, because you want to do something real, you better have something from And I didn't want to do the GED thing, man. I was like, heck with that. I'll go back and get the real thing, and all my friends are still there anyway. So, so I went back to school and got my degree. And in the meantime, I'd started playing in nightclubs as a musician. So that comes, with its own load of stuff. And so the partying just kept up. And so I figured, man, I got to get a real job at some point. So I ended up going into the airline industry, and I lived in 7 states and 17 cities in 7 years.
Wow.
For 3 major carriers. Yeah. And it was there where, I ended up in Florence, South Carolina. That's kind of where the whole Jesus story really starts. And there, I'd been living with a girl, and we broke up, and the breakup was really tough on me. And so leaving from that, guy behind me was helping me move. He's like, hey man, you want to blow a line? And I'm like, you know what? I don't give up about anything, man.
Hmm.
And so that's when I started tooting cocaine. And I think that's a time in which where God's like, all right, you've gone enough. I'm gonna jump in. However that grace works, man. I don't know why me, but I'm thankful. And so it was maybe a month or so later. I was playing racquetball at a YMCA, and I saw this flyer on a table. It said there was a band playing in the area, and it was featuring former Leonard Skinner keyboardist Billy Powell. And I thought, man, at that point in all the music I played, I knew that the skill levels of musicians, they would drift to one another. So the higher the skill
Hmm.
level, they would all find one another. And I knew if he was playing with anybody, that they were going to be phenomenal. But it said they were playing at a Faith Covenant church. I'm like, I don't know why, playing at a church. So I took the flyer and went and saw a dude that I worked with at Florence County Regional. And he's like, who cares where it's at? It's Billy Powell. I'm like, yeah, man. So
And how old were you at this point?
at this point, I was 23.
Oh
Um,
wow, so still
yeah,
pretty young. Okay.
yeah, I was 23. And yeah, so I went to go see the band play. And if you took Little Feat and 38 Special and you put them together, that was kind of the sound, kind of like some of the Blackberry Smoke stuff going on, today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, so, but it was all kind of God stuff. And it was only like 100 people in the room. It was a small church, man. And
Hmm.
they were like in a corner. So it was like being in a club or something, but there was no smoking, drinking, any of that thing going on. And they were phenomenal. And towards the end of that, they did like this power ballad. And after got finished with that, Billy Powell said, everybody sit down and share a story. So he shared how he survived the plane crash that killed Ronnie Van Zant from Leonard Skinner and Stevie Gaines and a bunch of other people. And because of a traumatic situation, his coping mechanism was alcohol. He got thrown in jail for his third DUI. And some guys in the Jacksonville, Florida area, from a church that knew him, they visited him. Hey, Billy, you need to take this Bible in with you. And he's like, okay. So he's like, after 3 days, he got some board. He started reading it, and ended up landing somehow in Romans 6:23, where the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ. And he said, and after having read what he had read, he said he got on his knees and prayed to receive Christ in the jail cell. And I think that's the first time up until that point, for me, Jesus was a creed to believe and not necessarily a life to live. And that was the first time that I heard somebody say, man, this changed, impacted the way I live. And I
Hmm.
just thought, wow, man. So I didn't do any making decisions or anything like that. They had to get an invitation, all that stuff. But I did go buy their album. And then he talked about reading the Bible. So back then, the only thing was on TV at 2 a.m. in the morning was the 700 Club, man. So there'd
Yeah.
be bikers on there, man. I got in an accident and God took my legs, but nobody's got my life. And I'm like,
Right.
oh man. So, and on that too, Donna Summer and Glenn Campbell used to advertise the book, which was a paraphrase of a paraphrase. And for the KJVers, hey, listen to this, man.
Right. I think I
It's
have
a
one of those books. Yeah.
paraphrase of a paraphrase, but it
Yeah.
was it was the readability of it. And so I
Hmm.
ended up buying one of those in a Walden bookstore in a mall, man. Because I wanted just the Cliff Notes version, man. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I hadn't really read a book up until that point, man.
Hmm.
From cover to cover, I always cheated, man. I read some of the front, some of the back, and the BS in between,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was my academic life in high school. So I started reading that, and it was a 2-year process of reading that and going through some crazy things and all. And And at one point I almost, I had switched companies, and I was, I think at that time, after Florence, South Carolina, ended up going to Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I left Bridgeport, Connecticut, and went back to Richmond, Virginia to work for Delta Airlines. And I was temporarily staying with my parents' house. And I went out one night, and you know, just got wrecked, came home, put a pizza in the oven, went in our den and passed out. My parents woke up to at 3 a.m. to smoke just rolling out of the oven. And my mom said the oven was so hot that she tried to put her hand next to the floor, couldn't hold it there. It was that
Wow.
hot. And and that smoke alarms, everything went off. I slept through it all. And had
Wow.
my parents not awake, and or I had been alone, I'd have died. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was kind of one of the times where I just thought, man, um, I need to talk to somebody, man. And so I ended up, a girl that I dated, her, she was involved in a church and all that stuff. And so and her grandma was a sweet testimony, man, to me. And so I went and talked to her. So you need to go talk to the pastor. And so, again, it was more kind of like, hey, you just need to believe this, man. And, you'll be better, kind of thing. And it just, for whatever reason, didn't click. I mean, it's, God just needed me to learn some more. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't kind of click, if you will. And so next thing you know, I got furloughed from Delta, and they moved me to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Mm,
And it was there as when God really started cranking the winch down, if you will, of grace,
yeah.
And so it was there that I'm like, all right, I'm almost burned my parents' house down. I'm gonna start living differently and all. And my mom's like, you're going back up there to a bunch of people and everything who know who you were. But hopefully you're different now. And that's like, yeah, and it's like, so, in the midst of what I'm sharing now, man, this Howard Hendricks shared this once. When I try, I fail. When I trust, he succeeds. So
Love that.
I was doing a lot of trying.
Yeah.
So I moved up to Pennsylvania, and um, when you start to desire to do what's right and move in the right direction, then Satan really ramps up his game. And if
That's
you're
right.
not aware of who you are and what he does, then you're just gonna get. We're now in football season. You're gonna get depleted, man. He's
Hmm.
just gonna truck you, and he does. And so that's what happened when I went up to Pennsylvania. But what's cool about Pennsylvania, it's a lot of heavy Christian influence up there. And so there was a girl that worked at United Airlines, and her name was Shelley. And man, I hope she gets to see this, man, because she was probably one of the first ones that saw that I was seeking and
Mm.
searching. And and so she was, I mean, she shared with me a Twyla Paris cassette. And and I had been introduced to some Christian music at that point by virtue. I went to Peaches Records and Tapes in Richmond and saw Striper, man. So I was in the metal, man. So I saw these guys, and it was Soldiers Under Command. It's all this God stuff. I'm like, all right, this is cool, and so I got it, and the metal and the message and all was. And then I saw Mile Lefevre album there, and the dude he had cowboy boots in this tripping look, man, and they had crosses on the cowboy boots. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So I bought that album, and that was Sheep in Wolf's Clothing, that project. And so when I went up there, I think Shelly saw that I was kind of moving that direction. So she gave me a cassette of that, and then turned me on to this Christian music station up there in Lancaster. And so through, a couple of things, man, as I'm seeking and searching, and it's just getting harder and harder. Life is. I ended up in a Christian bookstore right outside Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they had.
That's where I'm from, by the way.
Are
Lancaster.
you okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there it's right between Middletown and Lancaster is a small Christian bookstore, and they had posters of people. One thing I saw in there, they had a big a cutout of Steve Camp. And I thought, well, that dude looks cool, so I'll get his album, man. That's kind of my rationale here, man. It's like they're cool because up until that
Right.
point, to me, Christians were just nerdy. They
Mm.
were nerdy and kind of loser, man.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
to see these cool people, so I bought that Steve Camp tape, and I bought Mylon Lefebvre's "Crack the Sky" project, and just the both of those projects were just greatly influential on my life, and convicting. So the Crack the Sky is, that opening cut in that album. This Mylon's writing from a perspective of, I just don't want this to all end, and I just want you to come back, because I can't take any more. And if you crack the sky, just take me home, because I'm, it was kind of that thing. And But there's also, Steve Camp, and one of the songs used to just tear me up. And thank God for these writers who wrote with inspiration from the Word, and powered by the Holy Spirit. But he wrote a
Right.
song, "Cheap Grace," that I think "Cheap Grace" was a song that really kind of hit me right between the eyes. And the song says, "I feel sick when I look at the sin in my life. I can't take it any longer. And all along, I've known to do what is right, but my heart wasn't stronger. Am I man enough to face the truth? And do you ever feel the same way, that sin has its hold over you? You try to stop, but you can't walk away." Then the chorus is, "Cheap grace. We've watered down the blood he shed. We say we've given it all, but we have hardly bled. Cheap grace." Um, Cheap grace that he's given everything, but it's easy to abuse what you think is for free. And that song used to just, plow me. And like I said, the
Wow.
more I listened to that stuff, and the more the conviction came, it seemed like the more the devil would throw me of the things of this world. If you just bow down to me, anything you want. And at that, it was darn close to just about everything I wanted at that point. And and it was kind of getting ridiculous at some point. And so thank God I put in a transfer, because I was getting tired of the snow and everything and all.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Florida, and I
Mm.
landed in Tampa, Florida. And so, man, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to wipe the slate clean. Man, this is, going to try some more, right? And
Right.
so getting down there, I went to this huge outdoor celebration called Guavaween in Ybor City, just east of Tampa. It's like the Mardi
Mhm.
Gras at Halloween time, man. And I saw some of the craziest stuff there, and everything. And the dude I was with, he was kind of a local that was a friend of the person I was rooming there temporarily with. And and I had a Jeep CJ7 bikini top, all that stuff, man, down in Florida, man. I'm going to be a beach bum. And it's like, and it's like, and so we're cruising down the road, and he's just rolled a dude, and he's firing that thing up, and he hands it over to me. Well, I popped in the cassette player, Striper, and it was Soldiers Under God's Command. And as I put that dude to my, lips, I heard some of and it was just like, you know, Holy Spirit, I don't know what, man, but it's like, dude, are you crazy? You're gonna get struck by lightning. And I was like, I was starting to trip, like you're crazy, man. What are you doing? Like again? What? Like you're gonna do this again? And it's like God's gonna kill you, man. And I just was like, it was like I'm really putting him to the test, man. And I kind of tripped on the dude, man. So I took the dude and handed that back to him. I'm like, man, no way, I can't do this. He's like, what's the matter? I mean, he probably thought it was laced with something or whatever. And he's like, man, are you all right? I'm like, dude, I'm okay. I'm just dealing with some stuff, man. And so we didn't talk about anything. And I dropped him off at this place, and I think he was really worried about me at that point. He's like, dude, are you all right, man? I said, yeah, man, I'm just dealing with some stuff. And this was like on a Tuesday night. He's like, Thursday night, man, meet us at Mako's. Delmer Mabry Boulevard in Tampa, main drag. I'm like, okay, man. So I went in there and I went into that bar that night, and I was waiting for them. They never showed up. I finished off 6 more lights. I had 2 in my hands. And in that time, man, it just in my heart and mind, nothing freaky. But God just stepped into that place and said, Richie, tonight's the night. Your way or my way. And again, I didn't want that 700 Club story of losing my legs and all. I don't want to get a phone call. My mom and dad died in a head-on collision. My daddy was the kind of guy to some degree who had the, son, we got a problem, we got to fix it. You fix it or I'll fix it, but it's going to be fixed. And it was out of love that, I'm not going to let you keep going down this road, but I'm also love you to be the man and do the right thing. My dad was real big on that, was owning stuff. And so I felt God was giving me the same. If I fixed it, or if I made the initiative or did what was needed to be done, rather than God have to step in, it was going to be a lot easier. And and then too, you're looking around in the bar that night, and man, it's the same people doing the same thing. And, it's like, this can't be it, man.
Yeah.
And I walked out of that bar that night. That was November 5th, 1987. And I haven't not had a drink, drop, snort, toke or anything since then.
Wow.
And yeah. And earlier that day, and here's just God, just doing what he does in his awesome grace. Earlier that day, a guy from Piedmont Airlines came up to me and said, hey, Richie, I want to invite you to Keith's birthday party, which is another dude at Piedmont Airlines. And I said, cool, man. I'd like to go. He's like, it's going to be different, man. I'm like, what's it going to be different? He's like, not going to be alcohol or anything in there. I'm like, fine, I don't need that anyway and all. So, yeah. So the next night after that deal in the bar, I go to the birthday party. Well, there's a bunch of people from First Baptist Church of Dade City, Florida. Man, I hope they hear this too, man, because those people, it wasn't a church event. They were just a bunch of brothers and sisters getting together. They were getting together, and that night, this guy named Tyler Ryle got alone with me, and he said, Richie, what do you know about God? I was like, man, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure this all out, dude. I'm like, this is what happened last night, and I've been trying to read this, and I just don't know what to do. Man, I just don't know what to do. He's like, and we'll hook you up. And so I just I started, Dade City was in the middle of Florida. So growing up and watching, the only thing I knew about Florida was Disney World and Jackie Gleason live from Miami Beach, right? Palm trees and all that stuff and all. I had no idea Central Florida existed,
Yeah.
It's oranges, Mexicans, pickup trucks and crackers, man. Florida crackers, right? Cowboys, man. Right? That's all it is, man. Swamps, gators, snakes, and all this stuff. And ain't no
Right. I
sand
was
and
going to add
beaches.
gators in there. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ain't no sand and beaches and everything and all. I like Central Florida, man. But that's but it's like I just got involved in a church there, and there were two guys that were pouring their lives into me. And then here's the miraculous part of all of this. So these people are pouring their lives in me, man. It's 50 miles north of Tampa. I'm living in Clearwater for a part of the time. I'm traveling back and forth. I'd go up there for a couple hours just to hang out with those people. And eventually I ended up got invited to move up there, and so I could be closer to those people. And man, these two guys pouring their lives into me in particular, understanding where Dade City is. About a month and a half after I started hanging out with all these people from First Baptist Church and hanging out there and all, they started introducing me to a singles ministry in Tampa, and go to there. And there's a girl there.
How old are you now at this point?
Yeah, I'm at 25. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. A
So
lot
there,
happened in 2 years. Okay.
oh my gosh, yeah. So this one girl who's there, she's like, "You're originally from Virginia, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I got a friend of mine that lives in Virginia and everything, and blah blah blah." And it's like, I'd like to introduce you to her. She's coming down in a couple of weeks and all. And from my past and everything, it's like, whatever, man.
Mhm.
And so I stepped into the place that night when she's visiting, and it's like, oh wow, okay, man. So eventually after the service and everything there, it was and the play it was called, the ministry was called Single Purpose. And so I ended up talking to this girl and everything, and she, like these people up in Dade City, man, Jesus wasn't a creed to believe, it was a life to live, and they were living it. It was just life to them. They
Wow.
knew the word, and they lived it out. They fleshed it out without compromise, and just real people, but they weren't nerds, man.
Yeah.
They were normal. This one guy was an engineering student at University of South Florida. His brother was a junior executive at First Union Bank. So this girl had that same mojo going on with him. So they wanted me to sing for them because they knew I had a music background and all. So and that was a funny thing in Christianity. I never knew about the pre-karaoke, man. They had the soundtracks you could sing along to, right?
Yeah.
Brian Duncan used to refer to it as Kano band, just popping in and sing because you got the band there on the on the tape. And so I ended up auditioning. She was there that night, so she went back. And what she was doing, she had graduated from Liberty University and then started working for them. And she was doing student recruiting for Liberty University. So she was down there, and her parents had left Miami and moved to Port Richie. And so she was visiting them. And so that's how that happened. So when she went back to Liberty, she just wrote me a card and said, "Hey, man, I heard you're singing for a Single Purpose and everything, and I was praying for you and this and that and the other." And I'm like, "Well, I have to give you a call, man." So next thing you know, we ended up dating, and we were kind of dating kind of long distance. And I could fly to Lynchburg for $10 round trip because I could fly free into Dulles at the time, and then Dulles to Lynchburg was $5 each way. So that was
Obviously because you were an employee, right?
That's right. Yeah. No more of that legal family stuff, So,
Yeah.
So, and a friend of mine I played baseball with in high school, he was an engineer in Lynchburg, so I had a free place to stay, and we got involved in the cool church there. But so these guys that are pouring their life into me, get back to that. At some point, I'm talking about, telling this girl, my wife to be, hey, about, Steve and Jim, they're just, and she's like, "What's their last name?" And I said, "Well, their last name is Class." And she's like, "What? what's their dad's name? I said, their dad's name is David. She's like, you ready for this one? Back in Miami, my father-in-law was a pastor of a church down there. And about 15 years before this meeting or so, he was baptizing this father who had basically was a bank executive. He was baptizing this guy and his sons. He would disciple his sons in Christ. Then, for some unknown reason, his bank executive would take his family and move to Dade City, Florida, from Metro Miami to this bush.
Hmm.
And my father-in-law didn't realize it until just this past summer. I said, dude, you're baptized. Just understanding how we influence people and what God's doing in us and through us and all. He's baptizing this guy in Miami, not realizing that his sons would disciple his future son-in-law.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, man, I didn't realize that. I said, yeah, you're baptizing the man who would disciple the men who would disciple your future son-in-law from Virginia through Tampa.
That's wild. Yeah. You never don't know who you're going to influence and who they're going to influence.
Yeah.
It's wild. Well, it sounds like music played a huge important role in your life, and music is so powerful. I mean, words, lyrics, and the music itself, can just lead you which way, anyway,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause what goes in here and what goes in here goes to here.
That's right. Yeah.
And that shows the necessity of at where I'm at right now, playing in a band, at Thomas Road on the campus of Liberty University. A lot of great talent comes through there and a lot of aspiration for songwriting and all. Just the understanding, and that the purpose in this is to drive people to a relationship, to a deeper relationship. And that songwriting plays a huge role in that. Yeah. So, I was going to say once we started dating long distance and all, we ended up getting married and moved into the Richmond area. And there in our first couple of churches, man, I went to the youth pastors and said, like, man, I want to work with teenagers. They're like, why? I said, because, man, if they know about this Jesus stuff, they need to do two things. Number one, they need to live it and they need to tell it, because nobody told me until I was 25 years old. And that's jacked up, man. And it's like, so he put me with especially the second youth pastor put me with junior hires, right? Because they didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing, man.
Perfect.
It was a perfect match, man.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he started kind of subbing me out to other youth pastors to do Disciple Now weekends. Hey, man, you need to use this guy and you need to use this guy. And the next thing, youth pastors started coming up to me, man, dude, you ever thought about ministry? And I'm like, look, my dad was a pipe fitter. Mama stayed at home. I don't know anything about ministry. What do you got to do, man? You probably got to go to school. I'm like, oh, and that didn't work out too well the first time. So I tried the Jonah thing, man. And so, so I did everything I could to avoid that to some degree. And God landed me in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I was working a job and got furloughed just out of left field. So it seems, and just sitting in my living room with my wife saying, hey man, look, I just got furloughed. We just sold a custom built home that we had in Chesterfield, Virginia and everything. And it's like, she's like, man, what is God calling you to do? I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm kind of still new with this deal, man. And she's like, if Jesus showed up in the room right now, it said, what would you want to do? What would you say to him? And I started bawling, man. I said, I'd be a youth pastor. She's like, and what are you waiting for? And I'm
Mm.
like, I don't, I'm again at that place again. I don't know what to do. So she's like, man, you need to maybe go talk to the pastor. So I went and go to, at the time, Jake Thornhill was pastoring Hunter Hills Baptist Church in Greensboro, North Carolina. And Jake, if anything I didn't know at that point, I did know when I heard a good preacher and a bad preacher, man. And I knew expositional teaching was the greatly effective on my life. And he was phenomenal at it. And he, in stature, he was a big guy, man, 6'4", 6'5", and
Yeah.
everything. And so, but you got this crummy background and everything, and you kind of feel like you're disqualified because of what you did and this and the other.
Hmm.
So, talking to Jake and I really, I'm married. My daughter's, just kind of newborn at that point. And so I can't see going to get my bachelor's and to get my MDiv. And, it's like, I got bills to pay, a family, just like, I can't, 6, 7 years of school, man. Oh my gosh. So I was looking at this degree at Southeastern Seminary. And it was kind of like Dr. Blackmore figured, okay, there's some guys out there that are 30 years of age or older, called later into the ministry, but they need the education, but really can't, it's like really feel squeezed on with the family and everything. So they created a degree there at Southeastern. I think within all the Southern Baptist seminaries, created a degree that was equivalent to a MACE. That you could, clep out of a bunch of stuff, and you had to
Mm.
meet these certain prerequisites, and then they put you in the program. And so I thought it was kind of like maybe a little cheesy or whatever. So in talking to Jake Thornhill, I was telling him about this degree, and and he'd snicker every so often and all. I'm like, all right, man, what's the deal, Jake? What's so funny, man? He's like, he's like, he shared that he was a high prospect baseball player in the state of Louisiana, I think. And
Mm.
somehow after graduation, before he entered into rookie league and all that stuff, he I think he had possession of cocaine. And I think that
Oh,
was
wow.
like an 18 months minimum sentencing in the state of Louisiana. He got thrown in prison. And when you're, Major League Baseball, that stuff kind of comes around, man, they kick you out. And so after he got
Mm.
out of prison, he got saved and ended up getting called in ministry. And he went to New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, and he got the degree that I was looking at. I went straight home.
Mm.
I said, "We're going Southeastern, man. I'm
Wow.
gonna do the ADiv. It's called Social Divinity. It was like 64 credit hours, and man, I went to school J term, May term nights, weekends, all that stuff. We lived in student housing and all, but
Mm.
I was there at a very unique time, man. And then
Did you
just
and did you say you had kids at this point or no?
I did, yeah. Hannah was 4 months old when I enrolled at
Okay.
seminary. Yeah, that's my oldest.
Yeah,
And
it's that's
yeah,
a leap of
and
faith. Yeah.
dude, and what biggest thing you're scared about is you can be classes all day and throwing boxes to UPS at night. And again,
Mm.
God's providence. Just leaving the part of when I was in the airline industry, I'd gotten involved in working part time for a golf course, and was really
Mm.
intrigued about how to manipulate turf grass and working with the edaphic environment and all that stuff. And so when I got married, that's what I turned to and did that for a while, but knew it could possibly be a career or whatever. But I just didn't know sometimes while I was doing what I was doing. And so when I went to seminary, it's like, man, I'm going to be working at night, 2 a.m. in the morning, throwing boxes. And there's a company that did landscaping, and they did the grounds for the seminary there. So I went and said, I started it in the spring semester, right? So it's January. So you guys
Mm.
need any help? I'll come back see us in March. I'm like, I'll be throwing boxes at UPS. And the guy's like,
Yeah.
you know anything about, weed control and beds and everything? I just started naming off all the stuff because I was a certified applicator in the state of Virginia, man. He's like, oh, wait a minute, man. And he went in the office, came back. He's like, when can you start? And I'm like, hallelujah, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you, God. That's why I learned all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Well, let
graduated.
me.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying, after I graduated from seminary, that's when it really started, man. The life, it's just like, Man, when I graduated from seminary, I was still dumb enough to think that people went to church because they love Jesus. So you graduate from seminary, your hair is on fire and all that good stuff and all, and then you go into to a church. My first church was in Balls Creek, North Carolina,
Mm.
and I got a dose of reality in that place. And it was a lot of people that were living how I lived, but with the exception, they did go to church on Sundays.
Mm. So just out of tradition or something, they went to church, you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, oh, a ton of tradition, a ton of culture,
Yeah.
and all, and yeah, and it required somebody to go in there to meet people where they were at and all.
Mm.
And I didn't have any of that going on. Like I said, my hair was on fire. You know what he saved me from? What he delivered
Yeah.
me from? So
Yeah.
I'm like going to these places and all the opportunities, reaching kids on the high school campus and everything and all, where a huge part of that really need to be done inside the church, and
Yeah.
higher levels of leadership too. And I
Mm.
just missed out on that. So they thought I was nuts. And, I thought they were nuts. And that was just a big mess, man. And so I did that twice to where, all right, I'm not getting this. And then a couple of guys called me up and asked me if I would be interested in going into the marketplace, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's what I do now. I've been doing it, and it's just meeting people at the most difficult. They are now where I was then, and
Okay.
many of them, and I just see myself in so many of them. It's incredible.
Are you with an organization or what are you,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah,
name of it?
yeah. With the national organization called Corporate Chaplains of America,
Okay.
and yeah, and so it provides chaplaincy in the marketplace, and it's companies offer it as a benefit to their employees. It's
Okay.
basically crisis care 24/7 and all.
Nice.
But it gives us opportunity to jump into people, and simply the term chaplain is someone who comes alongside someone in their time of need.
Yeah. Which
And
that's huge right now. A lot of people, just seems like there's a lot of need all the time, but
well, yeah, it's always been. COVID blew the door wide open, because all of the fear and anxiety that
yeah.
entered into our culture that was under the surface, but it really raised it to the top. And I think as time goes on, as we get closer to the end of all that's happening, that the enemy's it's just gonna get darker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the darkness, the light grows more brighter, right?
That's right. That
Oh
is
yeah.
so right. Yeah.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
that's quite a story and a
Yeah.
journey. I was going to ask you, and this might be a difficult question.
Sure.
What if you were to pull out one song, like maybe now, that's a
Mhm.
good,
Okay.
what's a good song right now that you could say, hey, this has been an influence in my life right now. And I'd recommend it to other people to listen.
Yeah.
Is there one?
Yes. One that just really is soaking in my brain right now is trusting God. Um, I think that's the tune. I think it's an elevation tune.
Okay.
Um, I trust in God, my Savior, the one who will never fail.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I
yeah,
can picture it.
yeah. That song, and from a song that I really encourage people, man. If you want to know what a quiet time should look like, I don't know if you've ever heard the song about William McDowell called "Stay."
It doesn't sound familiar off the top of my head.
Yeah. So "Stay" is a song that I think McDowell wrote, from a standpoint of having a quiet time. And I think people, one of the emphasis things when I'm sharing the gospel now, especially, is helping them to understand, man, it's a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Because
Hmm.
we talk about in corporate chaplains, the problem, solution, and response, man. And the problem is your relationship is broken because of your sin, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he wants to restore that relationship. And so when, and that's the cool thing about the gospel too. It's not something that happens when you die. So
Right.
much of the gospel is focused on, the future. Man, you don't want to go to heaven and all. No, I need help right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, and so that's the cool part about eternal life is eternal life begins at the moment that you become born again, when the moment that you place your trust and hope and what Jesus did on the cross for you and I and everybody else. It's like, that the moment that you invite him to change and transform you, it is instantaneous and it's good for today, the
Right.
very hour, man. And
Yeah.
it's like, that restored relationship. So that song "Stay" talks about, just if you open the word and you go to spend time in prayer, do it with the intentions of meeting with him,
Hmm.
because it's a relationship.
Right.
He talks to us, we talk to him, and that song "Stay" talks about the impact that hopefully that if you do meet with the Almighty God in your quiet time, that he, come to me, all you weary and heavy laden, I'll give you rest, man. You go to do that, and you get to you get a shot at his majesty. It's transformational,
Yeah.
and
It
it
is.
it makes it less of us and more of him. And
Hmm.
that's what people need to see. They don't need to see me. They don't need to
Right.
see you, right? They need to see him. And
Yeah.
that's when I spend time in his presence. That's what he does. It becomes less of me and more of him. And then when I rise up from that kind of, then, people just see it. And we got to
Yeah.
say it a lot of times because, like me, if you don't say it, I'm not going to just get it from osmosis, man. You know,
Right. That's right.
yeah. So,
Speaking of people needing help, because you had mentioned
yeah,
that just a little while ago,
yeah.
um, is there a verse that you could share that is kind of one that's off the top of your head that say, here's a, because there's a lot of people like in that was in a situation that you've been through where
Mhm.
they probably heard about God and going to church, and they're maybe still doing some things and they're wrestling with that, kind of like those times you went through. Is there a verse that you can res- whether the reference or recite it, that you can share that you come off the top of your head that you could share with us?
Yeah, what I tell probably if I use anything in over, and it's crazy part, I don't even know the reference, man. And maybe you do. You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Um, so many people,
Mm.
yeah. How about let's ask Google since
There you go. I've heard that, but I don't know the
I
reference either.
should.
Yeah,
All I have to do is ask my wife at the time. She's Queen James. I call her John 8:32. Man,
John
John
8:32.
8:32.
Okay,
Yeah, you shall know the truth. You choose set you free. Um,
that's true
so,
because you were probably in this bondage. You weren't free. You were. Well, all of us
oh,
were before Christ. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, before Christ or and after man, we're called to walk in the truth, and the truth a
Hmm.
lot of times is just just owning the stuff that we need to own, not owning the stuff that it's not ours.
Hmm.
You see that a lot, man. People like this. That's not, it's well, and a lot of times a lot of people operate off of feelings, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, in this current climate, man, especially in the political realm, and it's like it's all about feelings. It's like
Yeah. I
God
was thinking the
forbid, man,
same
it's
thing.
operating off of feelings, man. Because
Hmm.
I tell most people, it's not how you feel, it's what's real. It's
Yeah.
all
The
about
truth.
what's real, and that's the truth, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, people, as people will call up and it just had a battle with their spouse, and in order to win, they pulled out that. that dagger that they should never pull out and never use, something that was supposed to be forgiven and all that stuff. And they take that thing out and they stab them with it because that's how they win the argument, right? And then they go out and get away from the situation, and then they feel about that small, and they feel like it's irreparable. The damage that they've done is just, they've done it one last time. They can't ask for forgiveness again, and it's just lie, 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 lie. Man, that's where you have to step into the truth. You have to walk in the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Yeah, like you said, even in today's climate, because there's people that say, "Well, that's my truth." Well, no, there is the truth. And so that's really relevant. That's great. Well, Richie, I really appreciate you sharing all that. I was thinking as you were talking about where you lived, I was like, well, that's coincidence. I lived in 3 different places where he lived: Lancaster, Greensboro, and Lynchburg. And then I thought, well, no, that's not a coincidence, because you lived in so many places. There's bound to be.
That's right.
I'm bound to live in a couple of them, a handful of them.
That's right.
But yeah, thank you so much for sharing it, and for everybody watching. Help us spread this wherever you're seeing it, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. What'll help the algorithm if you like it, subscribe, and even comment on it. And Richie, again, thank you so much for coming on and just being willing to be transparent and sharing some of your faults but what God has done in your life. I really appreciate it.
To God be the glory, man. That's the cool part about it. We are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for every good work. And He's amazing. He's faithful, and that's why I do what I do. So if you ever get to see me on stage and worshiping what I'm doing, and people are like, man, you're just like, you got a smile out there. You're just like, man, because I'm celebrating. I can't believe what He's done for me, even to this day, man. And it's like, and I'm nowhere near perfect, man. It's just I'm a work in progress. And,
we all are.
Hallelujah.
Hey, the next time I'm in Lynchburg and I'm at church there, I'll come up and
please do.
After you get off stage.
Please do. Yeah. If anybody gets to watch this and you come to Lynchburg and come to Thomas Road, please come and see me and tell me you saw this, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, and goodbye, everyone. We'll talk to you again later. All right. Bye-bye.